So I'm going to be starting a series on some games that I like that aren't unmatched. The one that we're going to go over today is Downforce from Restoration Games. Now, Downforce is like most all of Restoration Games productions, a game that has been around before. It's been known as Top Race, Daytona 500, Cleveland Grand Prix, but after it sat around for 20 years without being seen, Restoration brought it back as Downforce. And as you can tell by the look of the game here, this is a racing themed game. So this game is going to mix in a few different elements. Besides having to buy the team and actually race, you also have a betting element which goes into the final score for all of the players. So let's go ahead and hop into this box here and take a look at what all is in this thing. All right, so we have our rule book. We don't need that. No. Yes, you do. This is actually a pretty simple game, though. It's not real complicated. We have our racetrack map here, which is two-sided. And as you can see, this thing is really big. I'm gonna get a good picture of this out where you can see all of it. It has a different racetrack on that side. You can also buy some expansion packs that have other racetracks on them and add more to the game. And you have these nice little race cars here. 6 of them. This is for 2 to 6 players, so 6 cars is nice. No, the wheels do not turn on them because the cars not rolling off the space that they are on is a feature and not a bug. We have some race team placards, 2 different sets of cards here, the speed and power cards, and this thing here, which is your score pad. So let's take a look at the score pad here, because I think this is a good way to explain the basics of what is going on in the game before we go into specifics. We have 3 different parts of this game. You have the auction. This is where you will buy the cars for your team. You put how much you spent on the auction here, so your cost. You have the betting part of the game, which is where at different parts of the race you can bet on who is going to finish first on the race. And you have the actual racing payouts, which is the money that you make for finishing the race. At the bottom we have a tiny little math formula here, which yes, we have math in this game, but it's okay because it's basically your racing total, which is what you win, your betting payout, which you get there, minus what you spent on the auction. That ends up being the total winnings. Well, your income minus your expenses is your winnings. This is pretty simple, guys. So the setup for the game is gone over here in the rule book and is pretty simple. You're going to choose the race course that you're going to go on and set that up. Every player gets their score sheet. You're going to take the 6 Speed 8 cards and shuffle them up randomly. After you pull the Speed 8 cards out of the Speed deck, you will shuffle up the Speed deck and then deal out all the cards to all the players. Any leftover cards will go into the box and not be used. You'll also shuffle up the power cards and sit them to the side. You'll sit these over to the side so that now everybody has their individual decks of speed cards here. And you can see some of these will just have a single car on it and the number. Some of them will have cars and different numbers, but it will vary. You also have some that have wilds. For the auction, once you get the cars set in place, you will take the Speed 8 cards that you pulled out, and after they were shuffled out, you will reveal one at a time. We're going to start with the orange car. So now the orange car is up for auction. So now we can see on here that the orange car is back here. So that will be that car's starting position. So for the auction, you get the car starting in the position that it's sitting in, you get the Speed 8 card, and you get this nice little placard that tells you you own the orange car. So how do you bid on the car? Well, you use these. All of the cards that have an orange line on them can be used for the car. So what you will do is each of you will look through here. You'll look at where the car's starting at and decide how much you want to spend on this car. Now, I could spend 5 on the car. I could spend 6. I've got 2, and I've got 4. Well, let's just say I really want to get a car here. I'm going to spend 4. I'm going to play that down right there. Now, the other player is going to look through their hand and see what they have. They've got some 1s. They've got 6. They got a 4, a 1. And they're going to be like, you know, I really don't want to bid that much on a car that's on the back row here. So I'm just going to do this here and just bid the 1. We have another player that's going to go ahead and bid, and they will put their bid down. And then once everyone has bid, these flip over. And we will see here that we have this player here with the 4 would have won and gets the car. So, yay! Now, the question will come up, what if 2 people would have, what if someone else would have bid for? The answer is whoever has the most cars on their card would have won, so this 4 will beat that one. And so you continue going through the Speed 8 deck, pulling out the cards one at a time here. The red car, the green car, which is one of the cars up front, the blue car, the black car, and the yellow car. Now, one player can bid for and buy more than one car. That will often happen if you have less than 6 players. Every player does have to get a car. So when you get to the point to where the number of remaining cars equals the number of players that don't have cars, the other players cannot be part of the auctions and they have to do it. When it gets down to just one car and one person, they go through their hand, and the lowest card that they have that can buy that car will be the one that they use. And if you run into some irregularities on what to do with the auction, the rule book does have some guidance for you in there, going over some of those more unusual circumstances. Now, when you use a card to bid, you are not giving up that card. You do get to keep it whether you win the auction or not. And remember that the value on the card for that particular car color will be what you put there. So the player that won the orange with a number 4 would have to put 4 as their cost. Players can also decide that they don't want to bid on the car and play some card that does not have that color of the car on it, and that's perfectly fine. Once you win an auction, you take the team placard and you add the Speed 8 card to your hand. So the next part's going to be the betting. How does betting work on this? Well, at 3 different points in the game, you get to bet on who you think is going to win. So the places where you get to bet are going to be where the yellow lines are. This right here would be the first yellow line you would come across, so that would be betting number 1. You then continue around the track over to betting spot number 2, and then finally number 3. So as soon as a car crosses the yellow line, everyone marks down their bet. You do this by marking next to the car that you're betting on in the column for that bet number. So now it's time for racing. Well, how does racing work? Well, it's going to be based off of these cards that you have here. You'll have all of these. Who gets to go first? Well, that's going to be the car sitting on pole, which is going to be the car on the inside of the front lane, which is marked with this number 1. So the owner of the red car would go first. So the red car owner has all of these cards plus the Speed 8 card. So you're probably going to look through this and figure out what cards you can use to move your car. If the only one you own are the red car, well, these are cards that will move your car, which is going to be a big chunk of them. You do have some wilds, and you can make the wilds be another color. And then these other ones here are just going to be useful for moving other cars. You don't get to move yours. So the way this goes, well, we'll pick one here that has like a lot of numbers on it to show what would go on here. So the owner of the red car is the one that's playing this. They get to decide what they're going to do. This is going to be red 6, so they get to move their red car 6 spaces, which is good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, you can go in a straight line in there. Whenever you move forward, you can move forward, or you can slide over diagonally a lane. If you were to be in this spot right here, you could choose which one of these you want to go into. Cars don't ever go backwards. They don't ever go sideways. They always go forward or diagonal. This spot can't go to there because that is too many removed. You can only go there to there. This car here could go into either of these spots. That one could go into either of those spots. This one could only go there. You could go to here, go into this one, and then that one to go ahead and speed yourself up a bit. Or if you wanted to make the car go around slower, you could take the outside and make it go a bit slower. Why would you want to make a car go slower? Well, because you're moving all of the cars. So you're going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're up there a good ways. Who do we have next? Green gets to move 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Black gets to move 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Orange gets to move 3. 1, 2, 3. Yellow 2. And then blue 1. And at the end of red's turn, this is the order that they are in. Once you play this card is discarded. Now that's part of the reason why this 8 is such a big deal, that you get one card in there where you just get to floor it and leave everybody else in behind. So what happens if you play a wild? Well, a wild can be any car that is not already on the card. So to play this one here, you would have to not pick the red, the green, or the black card to be the wild. It has to be one of the other colors. Now we're going to go ahead and set up some scenarios here just to explain how a few other things go. So let's say we're in this position right here, and yellow plays this card. Well, yellow would get to move 6 spaces, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they could go right up to there that way if they wanted to. Red gets to move 4 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now black would move 2, but black is blocked. Well, you have to move a car all of the spaces that it can go, and if it can go, it will go. In this case, black is pretty much frozen in place there. It can't move anywhere. Now, if blue had been here in that position, black could go 1, 2, and black would actually have to move that direction and cut off the red car in that case. Remember that a car has to always go all of its movement unless it gets blocked and physically cannot. So moving the cars to where some cars are blocking others off and stopping some from being able to go, making yours go on the shorter routes and the other cars take the longer routes around, those are going to be key elements of this game. The order that they pass the finish line does end up mattering for this, and it's going to be just the order of the car. As soon as they pass the line, you pick them up and you stick them in that spot. The next car that would go across would end up going there and getting into there, and then the others will continue on, and some of the cars may not end up passing the line until the next player's turn, where they get to go in. And whoever ends up at the end, well, you don't pass the finish line, you just go straight into there. And then you go down this and everyone starts getting their payouts. So the betting payouts, well, anyone that at the first betting option bet for the winning car gets 9 million. They get 6 for the car that finished second and 3 for the car that finished third. On the second one, obviously the winnings go down here with it being 6, 4, and 2. And on the third one, you get 3, 2, and 1. For the racing payouts, it's 12 for the winner, 9 for second, 6 for third, 4th for 4th, 2 for 5th, and nothing for finishing in last. Then you use your little formula down there, add all those up, and we will end up with our winners. And that is basically how Downforce is played. Once again, anything that I didn't go over here is explained in the Downforce rulebook, although this is a pretty simple game and not that complicated. One last thing I'm going to go over is going to be the power cards, which I did not discuss yet. So the original game came with 6 power cards, 1 each for the 6 players. There is an expansion pack of some additional power cards, another 6 that get added. And the way that you distribute these out there can be done differently depending on how you are going to do the game. You can put one of these face down with each card, and as you bid on that card, you just get one of the powers. You could leave them face up on by each card so that you get that particular card, so that you know what cards you're bidding on as you do it. You can play that any way you like, or you can just remove the power cards and not play them. If you get the expansion deck, you'll just mix those in with the others and just deal out however many you need. If you own more than one car, you do not get more than one power, but you get to choose between the different powers that you bought and pick the one that you like the most. So we'll take a look at each of these power cards real quick. And you can see the original ones that came with it have the checkered flag background, and the other ones have the kind of stamped metal background there. And these are just additional little powers you get. Tricky, on your turn, you may move the cards in reversed order from lowest to highest. So in this case, with this one, you could move the cards the other direction, starting with the black, then the red, then the yellow. So that would be a really good power. Unpredictable. If you play a card with a wild on it, you may use that wild for a color that is already on the card. Determined, on any player's turn, if your car moved into only rectangular spaces, you may move it to additional spaces. And that is going to be on any player's turn. You get to do that. And it also says you move it to additional spaces. So if they only run your car through the rectangular spaces, you get to move it to additional ones immediately after that, and you get to pick those 2 last spaces. Those 2 new spaces do not have to be rectangle spaces. They could be the curved spaces down there. Aggressive. If you play a card with your car at the top of the card, you may move that car 1 additional space. Doesn't apply to wilds or cards with only 1 color on it. Strategic. If you play a speed card with all 6 colors on it, you may ignore 1 color. Cunning. You always move your car, even on other people's turns. That one is really strong. Those are some nice base powers there. The additional powers from the expansion. Tenacious. After you take your turn, you may discard this power card to immediately take another turn. Patient. When you play your Speed 8 card, that car may move through other cars that turn. Aware. At the start of your turn, move one of your cars 1 space. So you just get a free space movement. Savvy. When you make your first bet, check 2 different boxes instead of 1 box. Both bets pay off. Daring. If you play a speed card with at least 4 colors on it, you may add 1 to all the numbers. That is 1 to all the numbers, not picking and choosing. Competitive. After another player plays a Speed 8 card and finishes moving, you may move one of your cars 2 spaces. And these are just some nice ways to be able to trick the game up a little bit and make things a little bit more interesting. So anyway, you got the cars, you got the racetrack, you got all the stuff. Can you race your car? What am I talking about here? I don't know. Just play this game. So what do you think of Downforce? Well, let me know down in the comments. If you have any other thoughts about it, you can leave those in here. You can give this video a thumbs up and a like. Hey, I like the little bubble there. And you can also subscribe to my channel to make sure you catch everything that I post so you don't miss anything. This is Jeremy with To The Tabletop, and we'll see you around next time.